gives me great pleasure and honor to welcome Umkhaya Khulumlazi.
Mr. Shares, I can only say thank you very much to you. But I guess as I'm saying thank you to Mr. Shares, I'm also saying thank you to all of you. What an honor. What a wonderful moment. How many times do you ever get the opportunity to be asked by principals to come and address them? Oh, come on, clap for me. Come on. I mean, it's not every day that a principal, let alone a collective of principals, say to you, come to us and address us in our gathering. It reminds me of where I come from. I come from a community that respects principles. The 6 strong points that define successful ability. I remember in 1995, when I was paralyzed in that bloody car accident. I'm going to boldly say bloody car accident because, to be honest with you, it disturbed a lot. I was 23 years old, had grown up in institutions that had literally shaped a man about town. I'll be very honest with you. I was one of those young men that knew that they, number one, had been gifted a bit in language. And coming from a bit of a middle-class background, I knew that I had enough of cloth to make the woman look at me and whine. And suddenly this car accident. I've already matriculated, I've already had my basic degree, my honors. I'm working for Tongat Mushrooms up in Shongweni as Junior Human Resources Manager. And then all of a sudden I wake up in hospital and doctors are telling me that I'm never going to be able to walk again. Many people will always wonder why I say the first reaction was irritation. I was completely irritated. I was miffed. I mean, I could not believe that just yesterday I was walking tall and suddenly I had been relegated to the 0 zone. Because let's be very honest, people with disabilities, as much as so much has happened, people with disabilities still rank as the lowest in social strata. And number 2, I mean, for goodness sake, I was now going to be using a wheelchair. I had never seen a woman smiling at a guy in a wheelchair. So it was a tragedy. I was completely irritated. Days passed, and I started realizing that no, this thing is not going away pretty soon. And I started crying. And I guess my father could see that I was starting to lose it. And he visited me one day. He went to senior management at Intervenue Hospital and said, I want to come to him after visiting hours because I need to talk to him. He is my son. He needs me now. And they were kind enough to say, no, it's okay, come through. So my father sat with me that day and said, son, shit has hit the fan. And there is no reversing the process now. You may cry about it, you may curse. Intervenue Hospital will tell you. I left quite a history there. The tantrums were stormy. And some of the nurses were even beginning to think that they have to gang up against me and give me a beautiful hiding. I was a bit of a nuisance in hospital. So my father intervened and he said, you know what, MUSA? There are certain things that you can do and certain things that you can't. One of the things that you can do, you can still live your life to the fullest. But one thing that you need to acknowledge, you are never going to be able to do. No, my son, walking is normal. And you are going to have to take that to heart, because in doing so, you are already going to be starting to open the door to realization that things can still be. And he said to me, I taught you as a child to hold on to 6 principles. Remember these principles today, practice them tomorrow. The future is going to be much greater. He said, son, I taught you to be disciplined, to hold on to your sense of discipline. I taught you to take the initiative. I then taught you the value of leadership. Further, I taught you that you should always be productive. I then taught you that in doing all of these four, you should be effective and efficient. Because in so doing, then you are going to be stepping into principle number 6, which is making a difference. He said, if you can do those things for me, son, there's going to be no disability. Because in those 6 principles lies the pillars of our abilities. A disciplined person is much more capable than one that is not disciplined. A person that can take the initiative can always find direction to their own soul than a person that cannot take the initiative. A person that values leadership can always self-lead than a person that does not. And people that do these 3, discipline, taking the initiative, leadership, are productive than those that do not. They are effective and efficient, and they can make a difference. Take it or leave it. That's what my old man said. Now, my father is an academic, and when he puts his arguments, they are very academic in nature. But that day, he literally broke it down to basics. And I knew that if I take this, then I'm on the right path. If I do not take this, woe unto me, because my disabilities are never going to let me go. The following day, I went to the matron of the hospital and I said, matron, I need a favor. I need to go to the gymnasium, but I need to use it alone. Said, Mr. Zulu, with your tantrums and everything, I've come to see you and define you as a very pushy person, but you're not going to be pushing us around here. The hospital has its own plans with the gymnasium. If you want to access it alone, then you're going to access it at night. And I said, good, because I needed to do this at night, when the stars were going to be shining in the sky and the sun was no more. You know, sometimes, if you really want to enjoy your day, do not start with the sun rising. Start with the sun, start with the stars, and see how they literally illuminate the sky. Illuminate or illuminate, what do we say in English? There are English people here. Illuminate. How the stars illuminate the sky. Then as the sun rises, you will see that even in the dark there was a glimmer of light. So I needed to access the gymnasium at night when the stars were the only ones that were going to be dotting light in the dark. I got there, and to my satisfaction, I'm going to put it that way, the gymnasium was fully equipped with mirrors on the wall. And that's exactly what I needed. I needed to see myself in the mirror. One by one, I unbuttoned all the way down until I was completely nude in front of the mirrors. And because the mirrors were everywhere, they were giving me a 360 degree of the truth about who I am and what I had come to look like after the paralysis. I'm sure most of you have children, all of you have children. Your children will tell you these days that there is a character that is very popular in kids' movies, Despicable Me. Do you know that character that is big and is... That's exactly how I was looking after the paralysis. And they are talking about a guy here that was fit, man. Excuse me, sometimes I just drown away in my own lines. I was fit as a child. Fit as a fiddle, they say in English. And all of a sudden I was this. I needed to confront myself in the mirror and ask myself questions, looking at myself in the eyes, so that if I was lying in the answers that I was giving to my questions, I could see it in the mirror. And if I was being truthful about how I was looking at life then, I was also going to see it in my image in the mirror. And I had a wonderful opportunity to start talking to myself about these 6 principles that my father had told me about. Gathered myself. Of course, there's a lot that happened in front of the mirror that I'm not sure if I want to discuss with you. Because you don't only just look at the biceps and, you know, the arms. You look at the legs and you look at this now. But I discovered that in looking at myself in the mirror, I was confronting even my own worst fears. of number one, what I had become, and number two, of what I was fearing, I just could never hope to ever be. A week after that, I discharged myself from Ndabeni Hospital because I had confronted the worst enemy, the mirror, my own image, the truth about who I was and the truth about who I wanted to be. Went home and started exercising these principles that my father had taught me about. I am here today because I have practiced them the best way I could. So what Mr. Chesi was reading for you as part of my resume has been a product of applying these principles. It has simply been the product of applying these principles. Let me tell you something. I know that there is something called disability, but I'll be very honest with you. Comfortable. I live beyond disabilities. I have none. The only disabilities I have are my own little fears about things that just could not be. And the best thing that I do to escape those is to do those things and make them be. And in the process, escape these disabilities. There is this word that I always use at all times. This ability, this ability, this ability. I'll tell you where it comes from. When my father found me crashed in hospital, he said, "MUSA, the best you are going to have to do is to uncover your abilities so as to face your disabilities." And I remember sitting and thinking, what is this ability that my old man is talking about? What is this ability? What is this ability? Is it really just the opposite of disability? I don't think so. This ability is all about seeing freedom inside a prison. If there is one thing that marked Mandela different from the rest, was that Mandela lived by the philosophy of this ability. Change in South Africa. I mean, when you ever want to click your fingers to white people like that. Presentation, MUSA is Zulu. I'm an author, an artist, and a motivational speaker. Let me take you through the steps. What is this ability? This ability is the power of the soul to push itself beyond the limits. It is not the opposite of disability, but an acknowledgement that these abilities are neither prisons nor limitations, but open gates that can only be accessed by those who dare to step through. Are you still with me? This ability is a graduation from our disabilities to our abilities without fear, doubt, or reservation. You know, whenever I visit a young man in hospital that has just been newly disabled, the first thing that I always say to them is, if you are going to push through, there is one thing that you're going to have to do. Never fear, never doubt, never entertain any reservations. Do you know how many days we spend wasted because of our fears, our doubts and reservations? This ability is the ability to graduate from our disabilities to our abilities without fear, doubt, or reservation. This ability is the sweet taste of victory experienced by those who believe that in order to conquer any challenge, one must fight the war from the position along the front line. My wife will always say to me, "Oh, you know, MUSA, I just wish you could get your own TV. I'm always in front of the television watching history, and my favorite programs are battlefield stories. I just feel excited in watching wars." Maybe it's because I'm a Zulu, and my grandfather, who happens to be Shaka Zulu, was a warlord. But honestly, I've always believed that there's something about a war that inspires, especially when people fight from the front line. You have never seen soldiers backtracking. You have never seen soldiers taking pride in the fact that they fell before they even reached the front lines. Every soldier will always talk about the front line, because that's where heroes are born. Are you still with me? And I guess as principals, you're already positioned in the front lines. And this ability is exactly that, an acknowledgement of the fact that where history will be made is if I'm the first one to step through in the front lines. This ability is the level reached by those who have graduated from merely accepting circumstances to embracing them for their own betterment. A belief in one's own potential and faith in the invincibility of dreams pursued with endless effort. This ability is the act of understanding that the sky is not the limit, that stars still shine beyond the indigo.